Hi everybody, welcome or welcome back. Today I thought we'd go through the vegetable garden, see what's going on in mid-September and how I managed to grow quite a variety of vegetables in a few raised beds. I'm Sharon and I garden in Zone 3, East Central Saskatchewan. So I have 8 raised beds. Each one is 4 feet by 12 feet. They're made with 2 by 8s. We changed them out maybe about 8 years ago or so, and they are lasting very well. Also, each of the beds is set up to accommodate hoops, and the hoops are made out of PEX plumbing pipe. The red ones here are the 1/2 inch pipe, and they are a little wobbly. We changed out to the blue pipe, which is 3/4 inch. That if you were going to make hoops out of PEX pipe, that's what I would go with, is the 3/4 inch. For one, you can put it onto a rebar stake. It's also a lot stiffer, so it doesn't bend and flop around when you put cover on top. I use those hoops for row cover to protect in the spring and in the fall. I also use them for insect netting and covering, covering with blankets in the fall if need be, or in the spring sometimes. The bricks that you see strewn about, that's how I hold the various covers down. I find that if you don't pull them and hold them quite tight and taut, that the wind will pick them up or it'll start rubbing, or the wind can wreck it in no time if you don't have it properly secured. So in this first bed with the straw on it, that was the garlic bed. And the garlic was harvested, of course. The bed has now been amended with cow manure, and it's ready for potatoes next year. It's going to be in that bed. And this was my cabbage bed. That is going to be the garlic next year. This is the watermelon. I do have about 8 or so watermelon in there that are quite nice. This is the Sureness variety. It's a yellow fleshed watermelon. It's very sweet, has a really high Brix content. I'll be covering these once it starts getting a little cooler, just so that they can all continue to ripen on the vine. Watermelon doesn't ripen very well off the vine. These little stakes that are here, I just put them where I've actually planted the plants, so that when I water, which is usually by hand, when I water I know where to direct the water, because each of the plants is just in a little kind of a well to hold water. And continuing on, this was the onion bed. I was really happy with it last year, and I just can't recall what's going to be here next year. I do practice crop rotation. No bed ever has the same thing in it from year to year, and I try to keep 3 years in between the garlic and onion beds and not grow onion and garlic in those beds again for 3 years. The garden is protected to some degree by cotoneaster hedging. It does help with the big winds that come. At one time, over on the south side, just behind the bench, I had very large lilacs. It was like a big solid hedge of lilac. I've since changed that, and I'll be showing you eventually how this is going to become a little bit more of a fairly substantial rock garden. The yard is becoming shadier and shadier, and I really do enjoy rock gardening, but I'm finding that I just don't have a good area. It also needs an area that doesn't get a whole lot of leaves falling in the fall and messing it up. They get caught up in the rocks and such, and so this is going to become, eventually it will become an entire rock garden. To the vegetables, I'm just going to move so that you're not seeing my shadow all the time. So in this bed I grow carrots and beans. I usually grow them together, 2 rows of beans, One, and they're staggered. One is earlier, one is later. I don't like to preserve a whole lot, so I don't like to have a lot all at once. The carrots are doing very well, but there are some that have like super big stalks this year. And when you pull them, see that stalk is just huge. It's only one stalk. It's not like it's a bunch together. And when you pull them, it's this massive, really fat kind of carrot with many fingers coming off it. And so I've been reading that a lot of people are having that trouble with carrots this year, and I don't know the answer there. This is my tomatoes and peppers. I always grow these together as well, unless I decide to do a larger pepper crop, then I have an entire bed for peppers. That might happen next year. This first tomato is the long keeper tomato. Not these little ones, that's a indeterminate vine from the next tomato. But these always produce really well when they start to blush a bit or turn a little bit color like these are at the bottom. You pick them off, put them on a shelf in the basement, and they will ripen slowly, and they keep until about Christmas time for me. They ripen, fun fact, they ripen from the inside out, so they never really turn red on the outside. They turn like a peachy, yellowish, orange color, and then when you cut into them, they're redder inside. The next tomato is the sun sugar. I harvested yesterday, so you're not seeing a whole lot of fruit, but the sun sugar is really sweet. I think it's like eating candy, and when they're orange, they're ripe. They taste a whole lot better ripened on the vine. I have picked them green, when a late frost or a frost is coming. I think, oh, I'm going to just pick all these green ones and I'll have, lots of sweet tasting tomatoes, but they're not so sweet. They get a little bit of a bitter flavor when you pick them green. I have 2 plants of Juliet. These are possibly my favorite tomato all around. Although they're small, they're good for sauce. They're like a small Roma. I think they're called saladette, but they're quite meaty inside. They don't have very many seeds, and I just find them to be a good all-around tomato for sauce, salsa, and salad. Next time this year I'm growing a San Marzano. I always just grow 6 tomatoes, and I have my favorites, which are all of the ones you've seen so far, and then I try and grow one different variety every year just to try. These San Marzano are doing very well. I did try them once before and I got blossom end rot on them. This year we put in drip watering down there, and so I'm keeping up with the watering deeper. More than frequency, it's the depth, I think, of the watering. I'm putting more on this year, and no blossom end rots. So that advice that you read or hear, that it's about inconsistent watering, I don't know if it's the consistency as much as it is the depth, the amount, and that can certainly help lead to blossom end rot. Down here on the end I have a Park's Whopper tomato. That's my favorite for a sandwich tomato. It produces really well. You get lots of tomatoes. I've already picked off a number of red ones. Again, I like them to ripen on the vine, although these ripen just fine. And I like all my tomatoes to ripen on the vine. I find that there's a difference in flavor, but these also ripen really well from green inside. So do the Juliet tomatoes, and of course the long keepers do. I'm just going to go back around so that I'm not in the sun again. These are my peppers, and they've struggled this year. That cold June really did a number on them, but I am getting fruit. It is producing quite well, considering, and some not so much. Some have started to produce, and now they're just kind of rotting a bit. There's a nice size one there. I picked off one a few days ago, and it measured in at 442 grams or 44 grams. And my record so far, I like to weigh my big fruit, and my record so far is 462 grams, so I've not yet beat it. But it is a beautiful red. Peppers, if they've started to blush like that, or at least start to ripen a bit when you pick them and bring them in the house, they will continue to turn red. So you don't have to worry about too many green peppers. I find that they have a shelf life, quite a long shelf life, and if you put the ripe ones in the fridge, they last even longer. So I'm never in a real rush to process. When I do process peppers, all I do is chop them up into strips, I freeze them on a cookie sheet, and then I throw those frozen pieces into a Ziploc bag. Easy. This next bed is potatoes. I had cover on it this year. I had insect netting on it this year, simply to keep away the potato bugs, because I did find a few. I haven't had potato bugs here, but this year I found a few. So I picked those off, and then I got the cover on, which protected it from any further damage. They're just so yucky, more than anything. These are all Carib potatoes. I really like the variety. I plant them quite heavy in here, and instead of hilling, I use straw on top. They don't grow very deep down. They're still protected from the sunshine. I don't know if I can find any. Oh, we had rain, so yeah. There's one right there. So they are not deep down, and they're just real easy to pull. It's my favorite variety of potato. It's a purple potato. Over here is the cucumbers. We have a makeshift trellis out of just 4 pieces of maybe 10-foot rebar, and then that plastic netting that you can buy. I bought it at Home Hardware, I think. On this side, I have 2 Summer Dance cucumbers. They are a long English. I harvested yesterday, but see what's going on here. There's another one. There's another one over there. And on this side of the trellis, I have 2 quarantine cucumbers. Quarantine are an improved cool breeze, and they are parthenocopic, I think that's the word, which means that they don't need to be pollinated in order to produce fruit. If you have a problem with not enough bees in your yard, this would be a good cucumber to grow. And I see that there's still plenty of fruit starting. I have made a lot of pickles already and a lot of relish, and I have given away a number of these cucumbers, and they are still producing, and it's just 2 plants. So you really don't need very much. In the center here, in between the 2 cucumbers, I was growing lettuce as well as spinach. And then my row of dill has finally decided to come up. I've seeded twice. Had a very hard time with dill. It was coming up, and then the aphids just ate them up even before they turned into anything. I did manage to get a few bigger stalks so that I could have some for dills, but all the rest of this, I'm going to have some nice ferny dill now. The last thing I have in the vegetable garden are 2 zucchini plants, and I grow them in 5-gallon pails. The pails have holes on the bottom. I don't know why it is, but zucchini seem to do much better for me in a 5-gallon pail than they do in a raised bed. I have no idea, but it works. It doesn't take up as much space as it would in a raised bed, and so I'm just going to keep on doing that. I see that they still are producing flowers. I still might get some zucchini out of it, but I have many bags of shredded zucchini in the freezer already, and I've given away a number of these as well. Just beyond the zucchini and just close to the apple tree, are my haskap bushes. I have 3. They produced extremely well for me this year. I think I'm going to move them and probably add maybe 3 more. I really do like the berries and I'd like to be able to freeze more. When thinking about planting haskap bushes, you definitely need to keep netting in mind if you plan to harvest any fruit, because the birds will get in there and strip those bushes in just no time at all. We started off trying with the green plastic netting, bird netting. It's not very good. All it did was catch a bunch of birds that we had to then, we must have cut out and released a dozen cedar waxwings that were caught in the plastic netting, and then I changed to insect netting. I think if it were in rows as opposed to 3 in kind of a triangle pattern, I think in rows I'd probably have an easier time setting up the netting, but you do need to keep that in mind if you're planning on planting haskap bushes. I do like raised bed vegetable gardening. I find it an easy way to grow. The soil warms up a lot faster, it stays warm. I also think that plants that like warmer soil, like peppers and tomatoes and watermelon, they like the raised beds. I always have really good luck with peppers. This year, a slight exception, even though I did have them covered. That cool June was something. For as much as I like the raised beds for the warm season or for the warm soil vegetables, I do not like the raised beds for lettuce, spinach, or peas. I've given up on peas. So that's my raised bed vegetable garden. If you have any questions about anything, you can just leave me a question down in the comments. I'll be sure to read everything that might be there. Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel and you'll get notifications about when I have a new video up. See you.